taller than I think. Okay, Iris Portny. I just thought I would add some more stepping stones to kind of bridge Jean's ERA days to her Arlington days people are talking about. They're not stories, there are events. And I, of course, wrote a list because I can't remember lists without that. I got to really know Jean in the early 90s when I was reaching out to people to help create a network with a bunch of other people throughout Northern Virginia in the context of the Northern Virginia Women's Political Caucus. This is a time before, maybe when Janet Howell and Karen Darner were still thinking of running for the General Assembly. We had a handful of people. And Jean was really like the angel on my shoulder in terms of walking history of who had ever done anything to help women, who would want to help, and why, and what you should need to know. And so I was forever consulting with her on ideas. And so I would just say, although to you now people, she made clear the Women's Political Caucus was not her organization, it was now, but happy to help in terms of related goals. And so first off, I think back to when she introduced me to the history and the reality of the fabulous Claude Duval on that, and Dick Sasloff, the fabulous Dick Sasloff, who was then, they were both, Claude was finishing, Dick was starting in the Senate. Jean always had an idea, and then from there, she was part of the people who told me who we needed in the General Assembly when we wanted to honor women who had been there, who to reach out to, how to create a list for people. We even found Catherine Stone, although I think actually Margot was the person who helped me find Catherine Stone, who had served, and honored her. Then one of my favorites was that when we were putting together people to just begin the push in the early 90s to focus on violence against women and efforts from the prosecution level as well as legislation on that, Jean was fabulous in terms of being there to help reach out to Mary Sue Terry when she was Attorney General, to encourage Mary Sue to focus on that, and knew that the person to make that happen fast was Elise Hines. So we hosted it at Elise Hines. Mary Sue showed up, created the task force, moved on from there. Then, of course, part of the Arlington network, pushing for Helen Fahey to be nominated by Chuck Robb as the first woman in terms of U.S. Attorney on that. So there were so many behind-the-scenes efforts that she just wanted to make sure that other people, the next generation was coming up, was continuing to create new networks of people who would be activated on that. And I have to say as well on this, that every time I think of Jean in this context, and her energy, and her smarts, and her walking history of all this stuff, during that time, and I know Jean was always part of a team. And so it wasn't just Jean, it was the Jerry Whiting group. It was Margot, it was Ruth Cantor, it was Jean, and then later Mady. They always knew who would help, who wanted to help, and who you should reach out to. And she will always be with us in those footprints.